No, but I'm just a lad trying to do my best.
What are we looking at?
Stephen Grant.
Oh,
Hey, yo.
my God!
Hey, yo. Chill out. Chill out.
They even made the music sound like Indiana Jones!
Chill out. I'm getting WandaVision feels right now. Get out of town.
That's Crawley!
We're doing the Jeff Lemire.
And there
Okay.
is no B22 in bingo. It goes to 15. Wait a minute, is that... It's just like...
It's like everybody knows?
Donna!
What is happening? Why
She's
is
got
this?
the scarab.
She literally has a blue scarab.
Is everything in this
Why?
show fake?
Why? What is reality, Eric?
Cupcakes?
What is reality?
Tyrellman's cupcakes? Oh my God!
What is
This
happening?
show's nuts.
What?
I love it.
I can't even believe that they're together
Ooh,
right
there's
now.
another one.
Oh,
Is it Jake?
Don't
Hello,
open that one. Leave that one
Jake.
closed. Don't. Is that?
You don't. Oh.
Is that the
okay.
like the
Okay, maybe not
murdery? I don't know. The
Oh,
murdery.
it's gotta be
altar?
right. Who else? Who else could it be?
Yo, you guys need to chill out. Chill out. Chill out. Oh shit! Nah.
Oh my God!
That is the appropriate reaction.
The fish!
What? Nah.
Whoa.
What is happening, bro?
Oh, Tower Ed, nice to meet you.
Damn.
My God.
Holy.
What an ending.
My God,
My
indeed.
mind is blown.
Jesus Christ. I can't even believe this, man. I don't know. My brain, I can't process it. I don't know what's happening.
So much to talk about.
What a
so much to
cliffhanger.
discuss. Welcome back to New Rockstars. The tomb has been busted on Moon Knight, and busted makes me feel good. My God, Steven's discovery of the long-lost tomb of Alexander the Great might have been a plausibility step too far. And then a gunshot from Arthur Harrow sends Mark into a mysterious sunken place mental hospital that now has us questioning everything we have seen on this series. Was this whole show all in Mark's mind, or is this hospital yet another delusion designed to make Mark think he is delusional? God damn it!
So many questions.
But my favorite kind of questions.
Right.
This is Inside Marvel. It's our weekly reaction show to Marvel's Moon Knight. I'm Eric Voss. My Easter egg breakdown is going to be on the channel later today, but right now I am reacting to this episode with MT. MT, thoughts?
Bro, I did not think I was going to see any type of hungry hippo at any point during this episode. Holy like what is happening? Obviously, like we're getting some type of like Jeff Lemire vibes from this, because like this is very much in Kid to His Run, but like, what is reality anymore? What is it? I don't know.
What was it ever? What was reality ever on the show? Because
It
we've
wasn't
been questioning
great.
things from the beginning. We've had people like making fun of us and dragging us in week one when we're like, no, trust us, there's like weird stuff going on in this reality. So there's a bit of like vindication right now to see the show acknowledge the fact that like the reality we've been seeing might be surreal in some ways, but I don't think they're doing that classic thing of like, it was all a dream. No, I think this was, this mental hospital is equally bizarre and has all kinds of legitimacy issues in its own right. So, but I mean, this is how it feels to read the greatest Moon Knight comic runs. Is you never know what is real or not. How
It's
much of this
proper
is just
Moon
a
Knight.
symptom
That is
of
that
Mark's
like that
condition.
is 100% Moon Knight right there. It's like, what is going on? Like you cannot trust what you're seeing at all at any point.
And I love this twist so much. If anything, I would have loved to have gotten this twist a little bit sooner in the Moon Knight series. Just because I think like the later you wait to pull the rug out from beneath our feet. I think the fact that Moon Knight as a series, us going into it, knew that we're gonna be like looking at an unreliable narrator.
Right.
I think that maybe you could have ended episode 1 or episode 2 on this, and then you could have dealt with the ramifications after that and just lived in that fun space of questioning everything.
I would have rather
now
gotten
it's
here
like,
way sooner. in my opinion.
Yeah, we've gotten used to this world of Indiana Jones adventuring throughout these first 4 episodes.
Right.
So now that we've gotten kind of used to that, to pull that on us, look, I think every great series needs to have a great twist like that, and I especially love when that twist is like a descent into the unknown, into the depths of hell. We might be able to call this, or the underworld.
Yes.
But like. I think you could still have those beats while just kind of revealing Mark as an unreliable narrator a bit sooner. I think great twists like come at the end of a series you've already been enjoying. Like every show you should watch, you should be enjoying the ride as you've gone, and you shouldn't be feeling like, what is this? I'm frustrated, I'm confused. And then the twist is like, see, that's why you were frustrated and confused. No, a great twist should make you love something even more. Something that you already love, you should love it even more.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it sounds like I'm hating on the show right now.
No, not at all.
Really great. I really very much enjoy this twist. There were some moments in this episode where I was like, I don't know if that really makes sense to me right now. I don't know if I'm enjoying what I'm watching right now. But walking out of this episode, it all gels together in this beautiful way here in the mental hospital. And I love this so much that they did this. And I think it's such a bold, cool move that they did this.
And I feel like it allows like the other actors to like explore like different types of the different sides of their roles rather. And like just because we see Layla completely acting not like Layla at all. I'm like, ooh, I'm interested to see how this actress portrays this side of Layla now, or this like, in this weird reality.
And it makes the whole cast as an ensemble have to do the work. They all have to do the research to understand what it is like to go through like a debilitating mental disorder.
Right.
You just have to explore what it means physically. And I mean, obviously Bobby and Billy, they work as orderlies here. Interestingly, Harrow is basically still Harrow, he's still playing his games, but there are some slight variations that Ethan Hawke is playing there. When the whole cast came out on the red carpet and stood there together, I'm like, it's interesting that even the B players like Billy and Bobby are also standing up there with Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke. But now it makes sense. Now they're very much part of this. And I just love this. I love that choice so much.
Yes.
Let's recap what happens in this episode. So episode 4 of Moon Knight actually, from the get-go, cranks up the Indiana Jones theatrics, really what I would say to Crystal Skull levels of madness.
Oh, no.
It's at times a bit hard to watch what is happening.
I really enjoyed it personally. Like in terms of like the suspense, like in terms of like the creepy like stalking and all that stuff, we really don't really get that in like Marvel movies. So like I was enjoying like, wow, this is a MCU film? I think this is really interesting. Okay. But like I totally
if it worked for you, if it works for anybody watching this, great, awesome. I think it's super. There are some really fun aspects to it. It just tonally seemed a little mismatched for me in some moments, and it just lost me in some moments. But in fairness, by the end of the episode, it made perfect sense why they were doing this, and I think it was all by design to give credit to this show. But this episode begins with like Layla managing to save her and Steven's unconscious body from an armed truck of Harrow's men.
Yeah,
just pulling that old flare in the open box of loose ammo trick, killing all of them, but somehow managing to avoid all that shrapnel hitting her or hitting Steven. Nice.
Okay, that was the only part of the episode where I was like, nah, she would have taken at least one bullet. Like she would have got at least a little bit of hurt.
empty. There were some other crazy things that happened this episode. I think it's okay. I think it's fine that those things happen, especially knowing the reveal we're getting to.
Yeah.
So Layla and Steven are able to track down Harrow's camp, and it's empty. They overlook the bloody mummification tools that are just scattered about there. They share this awkward kiss before they descend into the tomb where Amit's Ushabti is buried with some mystery pharaoh who is Amit's final avatar. Now, a lot of this, I loved how nerdy Steven was, and also how nerdy Layla was. There was an interesting moment where she's like, this place must have cost a fortune. Like, you can see the fortune and glory kind of glimmering in her eyes, and Steven's like, but yes, so it also needs to be in a museum. Just kind of this interesting connection between the two of them. Very sweet, very genuine. What did you think of the kiss? What was your take on the kisses?
I mean, hey, it was a very awkward kiss, but Steven Grant is an awkward guy. So, I thought it was perfect for Steven.
I just love at first, like Layla was totally into it. Like she was ready to make the move. Steven's like, no, I can't. And then they kiss later, and she's like, when you make the move, it's not as good.
But, see, no, my favorite part of the kiss was after the kiss when Mark was like, so you kissed her, huh? Gonna have to fight you. with violence. Sorry, that's my wife.
You chose violence. So down in this tomb, they realize this one chamber is in the shape of the Eye of Horus. And they described it as a maze. And then he like drew it on this really cool texture that reflected it to the ceiling. But I guess my question was like, is this a maze? It kind of just looked like you drew the shape of an Eye of Horus like a crop circle, but I don't understand how that was a maze. Like how that was like a 6-way path. Like there's some points in the maze where it splits off into 3 or 4 different vectors. I just didn't understand how this shape was exactly a maze and where in those lines of the Eye of Horus they actually were. I needed the kind of legend of the map, like you are here in the Eye of Horus. He just kind of drew the shape of the Eye of Horus. And I don't understand how looking around the surfaces of that room, they were like, oh yes, the Eye of Horus. Like you would need to be able to like go down each path and then like chart that out based off of your steps, and they didn't do that. They just kind of walked around the inner chamber of this room. Anyway,
it was kind of weird.
That's just my little gripe of that moment. Like I don't understand how they derived the Eye of Horus from where they were standing. I'm sure some of you in the comments will be like, well, clearly they did this. I'm like, I'm just telling you, I've watched this episode or this particular scene several times, and I don't understand how they derived it. But anyway, they then find this a mummification room with fresh blood on the slab, which is an interesting moment of dread there. Like, the blood should be dried at this point.
Someone's out here killing.
Actively killing. And then we find out there's this creepy ghoul of a zombie priest, an undead priest who was buried with the pharaoh, who's alive once more and is now killing off Harrow's men just in the background. In the distance, here's some gunfire, and then he drags the guy in there and just starts extracting his organs, as one does.
Just casually. You don't need those.
This is the moment where, like, I mean, if you were genuinely creeped out by all of this stuff of this guy like chasing them around, cool, great, awesome, it worked for you. For me, it lost me a little bit, just a little bit. It just seemed like a little tonally, just a bit too goofy for me. The clicking, it just felt like, after school episode of Goosebumps, as opposed to like true creepy horror. I think the character design was just a little too silly for me. I think the clicking was just a little too silly. It just didn't work. It didn't work for me.
I feel like maybe because this is Disney Plus, and like because we know that like Disney Plus is like, having like these weird like sensory type stuff with their Marvel stills. I think they don't want to cross a line and make it too creepy for the kids. Which is
But I don't get it. Like, we saw so much blood. All the people that he killed in that town square in Germany in episode 1.
This is true.
That was way darker. Like, you can't just commit to that level of creepy. Like, even when Wanda walks in to Agatha's basement, episode 7 of WandaVision, there was some genuinely scary imagery there.
Right.
Where you're just kind of creepily walking in. It's silent, and you don't really know what you're looking at. You just see piece by piece. Like, I didn't get that here. There weren't really any jump scares here. It just seemed kind of like, just seemed a bit silly. I don't know.
So like you would know better than me because like I avoid scary content. So like you probably watch a lot more scary stuff than me. So you would probably know, honestly. Like I don't know.
I mean, I might just be being a bit too critical of it. And again, I'm fully aware that I think this was meant to be a VHS direct-to-video release kind of thing. And we're meant to kind of see this as a bit like artificial. And I think that was by design. I just think like, again, when you're doing great mystery filmmaking and television production, like you're still meant to enjoy the ride while you're on it. You're not meant to see the strings as you're seeing it. And then later they tell you that the facade you saw was actually this. And then you're like, oh, I love it even more now. It's not meant to be like, I don't get it. Oh, that's why I didn't get it. Like then it's like, it's less of a catharsis. Anyway, but if it worked for you, great. I understand I'm being pretty critical here. But trust me, there's an intent behind the criticism because I think it makes me appreciate the final scene of this episode even more.
Yeah. And like, I don't think you're being overcritical. Like, this is a reaction episode. So like, you're just reacting to what we saw, man. Yeah. It's totally fine.
I'm telling you, trust me, I overall love this series and I love the way this episode ended. But Layla manages to defeat the zombie priest again. She uses her go-to weapon of a flare to do it. Which, I don't know.
Good old trusty flare.
Like, she uses light to destroy the darkness, however you want to appreciate.
I hope she becomes the flare-up, the flare scarab.
So in this moment, Harrow tells Layla that Mark was there for the killing of her father. I guess he saw this when he scanned Steven's soul. Meanwhile, Steven finds the freaking sarcophagus
I'm
of
so
the
happy for
tomb
him. He just wanted to work at the museum, and now he's inside the tomb of Alexander the Great. He moved on up. Dreams.
Now, this is crazy that the Alexander the Great's tomb shows up here. But again, this might all be fictitious. I understand that. But I do love when the MCU intersects with history and uses the MCU to explain long lost histories, mysteries. But you know, there's like History Channel. People are watching this like, what? No, no. But
what do you mean? The History Channel's always airing alien content now. This is right up their alley.
You're right. Exactly. That's a very good point, MT. But it does present all these fascinating questions about could Alexander the Great have conquered all the lands that he conquered because he had Amit's backup? Is that what was really going on there? We'll talk about that a bit more later. But inside of Alexander's gullet, he finds Amit's Ushabti. And then Layla confronts him about her father. Mark confesses that he was there for it, but it wasn't him who did it. It was his greedy partner who killed all those archaeologists.
Bushman.
And he ended up getting shot. And that led to what, how Mark needed to go to the statue and got possessed by Khonshu, something we'll probably see either next episode or episode 6. But this ends with Harrow shooting Mark, and then Mark falls backward into a pool of water, but then Mark descends deeper and deeper into that pool until
he dropped
we find ourselves watching.
What's it called? What was that horror movie? Jordan Peele's movie. What?
Get Out?
Get Out.
Yeah, it's like Get Out. Sunken place. Same kind of imagery. Yeah, absolutely. And then we find ourselves watching this knockoff Indiana Jones direct-to-video release called Tomb Buster, starring this archaeologist hero, the character named Dr. Stephen Grant. And this plays in a mental hospital TV screen that is filled with everybody we've seen on the show. We see Crawley in there. I think that was Dylan sitting there. Bobby and Billy, Donna, and the Forger, and Layla, and Mark. This place all overseen by Harrow, now I guess the head psychoanalyst of this place. All the props and set decorations we see are all analogs of things we've seen in past episodes. We saw the cupcake cart, the Rubik's Cube, a plush scarab, a drawing of a hummingbird with Khonshu's head on it, a goldfish on a stack of books, postcards, a Moon Knight action figure. So Mark, who is heavily medicated, is brought before Harrow. And Harrow talks cryptically about us living not in a material world, but a psychic world, and suggests that Mark might have invented his other reality while watching this Tomb Buster movie. Harrow's office itself is designed like a wild museum filled with Egyptian artifacts, a painting of the Alps setting from episode 1. This does not look like a normal head office of a museum psychoanalyst.
What are you talking about? Looks totally fine.
Yeah, this is how it looks, I'm sure. A lot of sharp objects just laying around, able to be grabbed. Yeah, but again, by design. Mark escapes. The mental hospital itself just begins to sway, right? And I love the lamps just swaying like scales of justice. Mark finds a room with a sarcophagus containing Stephen. These two hug.
So cool. I love that moment.
They get to hug. And I love that they hug as opposed to fight, it's great.
It's like, oh, you kissed my wife. Oh, it doesn't matter. Let me hug you. That's the good friendship. That's brotherhood.
And then, so they creep down the hallway. Mark sees another sarcophagus rattling in another room. They don't look into it, but it's probably gonna be Jake. We'll see. But then the doors swing open and we meet Taweret.
Yes.
This is the hippopotamus goddess of fertility in Greek mythology. And she greets him just going, hi!
Which is terrifying.
She's nervous too. And then Mark and Steven scream. And I love that they are most scared by the sweetest goddess presented on this show. Khonshu made Steven scream, but Mark doesn't seem too afraid
Mark's
of Khonshu.
like, it's Khonshu. Bird skeleton, you see it sometimes. It happens. Hippopotamus, no. Yo, to be fair, hippos are vicious. They are vicious.
Creatures. They will kill you.
Will kill you.
Hippos are incredibly dangerous, yes. But in this moment, she's so sweet. She's got
very
human
nice.
Fingers. This is obviously one of the biggest what the fish moments in the MCU ever. It very much reminds us of the post-credits scene to Loki episode 4 when Loki wakes up in the void to meet Gator Loki. There's a bit of a formula they're following here. So MT and I are going to do our best to explain what is going on in this ending, where Mark and Steven are, who the Hippo Lady is, how much of this episode, how much of this series is objectively real. But before we get to that, we are selling out pretty fast of our latest obsession shirt inspired by Moon Knight. Thank you so much for all your support. This is Tomb of the Moon God. We've had a latest obsession shirt for each Disney Plus, Marvel, and Star Wars series, and some folks are collecting them all. And I think that's so amazing that you're doing that. When you buy one of these shirts at newrockstarsmerch.com, you'll also unlock the ability to buy a custom shout out that will run during our Inside Marvel after shows like this one. Justin says Osiris is colluding with Harrow. He is the god of death. Amit, his tool. It's why he ends the trial so fast. Justin, you might be onto something.
I honestly feel like that
members are. Yeah, they are definitely pro Amit in ways that they should not be pro Amit. So
I feel like Set.
Right.
I feel like the god Set is doing something because where's Set?
We have not
the
seen
god of
Set,
chaos,
right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good point. Good point, MT. Yeah, I think these. I think Amit might actually. I think the Ennead has a secret. These 5. There's only 5 of them right now. What did they do the other 4? Why did they promote Hathor to it? Include Horus, and
Seriously.
normally Horus isn't on it. So like, yeah, there's a lot of vacancies, and I think it's just like, what if the Supreme Court basically like banished 4 of its members? And then brought in a couple more to fill in the gaps. Actually, they banished like 6 of these members and then brought in 2 others. So like there was a majority that was overruled by 3 of them. And then so I think for sure. Joseph asked, which identity would you choose if you had the choice of one?
Steve. Well,
I think Steven. I would pick Steven.
No, I would choose Mark because like just
Okay.
OG Mark because like I just feel like Steven is too goofy. And I don't know. Like he's nice, but like that dude's he has no game at all. But then again, that's me. Steve is just me.
I think he had a bit of accidental game with Layla, you know.
This is true.
I think Mark's just kind of a jerk. I think Steven
Mark
just
is a
like a
big-time
nerd
jerk.
bumbling around a museum. That's a life I want to live. And then Stephen Fay said, Eric and MT, when you go to sleep at night, do your other identities scour shows for clues? You're amazing. Well, thank you, Stephen. Very nice of you to say. I don't know about you, MT, but I have started to have a lot of stress work dreams. Like waking up in the middle, like in my dream, I'm waking up to think that there's like a trailer that drops. And honestly, when the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer dropped, my mind woke me up. I checked my clock and I just didn't happen to open like YouTube and Twitter. But I looked at my clock and went back to bed for like a half hour. The second I woke up, no alarm woke me up. I woke up the second, or at least the minute, that the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer dropped.
See, you know what? I don't mean to sound spiritual, but I think that was the god Thor speaking to you to wake up. He said, "Wake up, Eric, wake up! It's here."
And instead, I just looked at my phone. I saw it was like 7:30 because I had already woken up at like 6:30, thinking that like, oh, the trailer will drop East Coast time if it does drop today. And then I went back to bed. But for whatever reason, I just checked 7:30, and I'm like, oh, I'll check again at 8 when my alarm goes off. And I did check it at 8 when my alarm went off, and I saw that it was like a ton of notifications. Like, oh crap, I got to jump to work. But it's just so weird how like
you got a spidey
there
sense,
is some
bro.
kind of internal. There's a spidey sense.
If we push you out of your body, Doctor Strange style, we're gonna see some squigglies.
All right, what's our question for this episode, MT?
All right, homie, what the fish just happened in the ending of Moon Knight episode 4? Because why do we have hippopotamus ladies in a hospital? That's weird.
Right, and what is this hospital for sure?
Yes.
Well, from the get-go, we gotta say, this series is both calling into question Mark and Steven's whole experience as a possible delusion, as you know, the Moon Knight comics do, especially the more recent runs by writers like Jeff Lemire. But this episode is not firmly stating that everything we have seen is in Mark and Steven's mind. This may be similar to twists in Fight Club or at the end of The Wizard of Oz, right? But apologies to Biggie, this was not all a dream. As at least that's
I
not
didn't
what
see
they're
one
saying
Word Up
yet.
magazine anywhere. I scoured it.
As silly as things have been or have gotten in the normal world of Moon Knight, things down here in the mental hospital are even more surreal. Like, if this show wanted to do one of those classic twists of it was all a dream, the mental hospital would just be a bare, sanitized, completely plain clinical setting. Instead, this mental hospital is unlike any mental hospital that exists in real life. We got cupcake carts, we got bingo with nonsensical numbers. You would never have B22 in bingo. It only goes 1 to 15 for B. Harrow's Bizarre Museum Office. We got sarcophagi, we got hippo goddesses. This place is obviously designed to be a nightmare. This is Gothica, folks. I can't believe I referenced Gothica. Halle Berry is like, just woke up somewhere and be like, my ears are burning. But
we should
in
be
both
mentioning
realities-
Gattaca rather than Gothica because of Harrow.
I think so. I think in both realities, both inside of the hospital at the end of the episode and everything pre-hospital are equally surreal. The scales of Amit's justice have just balanced out perfectly. And I think both of these should be equally questioned. They are equally dubious realities. So it was not all fake. It was not all a dream. Everything is important. Everything is actually happening to these characters.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the hippo lady. The final image, we meet Taweret.
Yes.
This is the Egyptian goddess of fertility. So, yes, and she takes the form of a hippopotamus. Normally, it's a head of a hippopotamus and it's got some lady some lady jugs, but they ain't showing that on Disney Plus. They covered her up. Smart move. But is Tararet, why would she be so important to Mark and Steven as a goddess of fertility? Fertility issues are not thematically what Mark and Steven are about. Well, if you go back to the opening images of the episode, very, very important, because we see Osiris's avatar placing Khonshu's Ushabti among several other Ushabti. And these might look familiar to you because we have seen all these other Ushabtis in the closing credits of every episode. And one of them in the closing credits on Brad Winderbaum's title slide is clearly Taweret. So that tells us that Taweret is one of the many deities who have been imprisoned in some stone state. And in episodes 5 and 6, we're probably going to meet all the other physical forms of like Khonshu, of Ammit, everyone else who is statuized. And the fact that we are seeing Taweret now in physical form suggests that Mark and Steven in that third altar in the unopened sarcophagus, we're thinking Jake, all those guys now occupy the same realm where the other banished deities are exiled. And I believe this mental hospital is how Mark and Steven manifest the Egyptian underworld. I think this hospital is the Duat. I think it's the opposite of the Overvoid, where the other 5 members of the Ennead go back to. That Tomb Busters line that Harrow quotes, spoken by the movie's villain, "No tree can ascend to the light of heaven if it doesn't descend to the depths of hell." To me, that says it all. I think we are now currently in the depths of hell. And that's why we entered this hospital by showing Mark sinking into a sunken place, sinking into deep water, going deeper and deeper and deeper, even though the pool that he fell back to in that tomb was just a few inches deep. And when he descended, if you look closely, the bullet holes in his chest have vanished. So I think we are seeing his soul descending into the underworld. And maybe it's just because it's Thor Love and Thunder week, I can't help but connect this tree going from heaven to hell to the depictions of Yggdrasil, the world's tree of Asgardian mythology, which extends upward into the heavens, but also downwards into the underworld. The snake, the dirt snake surrounding the median of that. So I don't know. Serpent. It might just be drawing a parallel to, yes, the great Jormungandr, right? I think that's a great serpent.
I don't know. I can never pronounce Norse names.
I know, I shouldn't even try. I think it's completely valid to get metaphorical with this and then reframe Mark and Steven's entire journey on this series as a soul passing through the field of reeds, facing judgment. And now we are at the step of the hero's journey where the hero descends into the pit of despair, into the depths of hell. And now, for the final act, must fight his way back out of hell. Imagine the story of Orpheus in mythology, right? Like you have to climb your way out of hell. Don't turn around and look at your loved one because she'll disappear and she'll be dragged back away from you.
And then you run through the office building while Morpheus and not Morpheus. And then you run through the office building while Neo and Trinity are in the helicopter waiting for you to jump. And yeah, that's the story of Orpheus. I watched that one. It's pretty good.
What? I mean, you bring it up, but MT, you were totally right. The third act of The Matrix, when Neo and Trinity have to go back into the Matrix to free Morpheus, is the same story. It's like you have to go into hell and fight your way back out of hell.
True.
Every classic hero's journey, Campbellian monomyth follows these steps. Now, I don't know how literal or metaphorical the series will be when it comes to what Mark will physically face.
Right.
Is this going to be just like the metaphorical analysis we apply to this? Or is it going to be like a literal fight? Is he going to have to fight his way out of this underworld? Are we going to see him face some kind of final judgment? Is this like a literal, is it going to be described in the show? You were literally going through this process. You've been passing through the field of reeds and we've been judging you. And when we tried to judge you in episode 1, you were not ready to be judged. I love looking at the show that way because it's very similar to what we saw in WandaVision and Loki, right? As we broke into the third act of WandaVision was right when Wanda went into Agatha's dungeon. That was her pit of despair. That was her hell for the purposes of Westview's structure. For Loki, the ending of episode 4, he went into the void. And the final 2 episodes were him going into that hell and then fighting his way back out of that hell. Right. Now, every episode of Loki kind of changed the game board in a certain way, but that, in terms of the structure of the series, that's the steps you go through. So we'll see how literal this is. Yeah. But the question MT and I should really talk about first is, was this underworld intentionally designed by some external force like Ammit, using it to manipulate and torture Mark with projections from his life like Harrow and Layla? Or could it have been designed by Mark himself or one of his alters to help him make sense of all this Or is it all just incidental, subconscious projections from Mark and Steven's minds, their own inner self-doubt, unconsciously manifesting in these forms, just independent from anyone's control or intent? This is just how his mind is just kind of piecing it all together, and no one's trying to torture him. Or do you think that like Amit in this moment is like, oh, welcome to the underworld.
Welcome to hell, you killer.
How do you see this, MT? What do you think?
I think that there be shenanigans afoot, my friend.
Okay.
Because of like I've been Googling stuff on Taweret a lot, and like Taweret is frequently mistaken for the goddess Ammit because of how physically similar that they look, because Ammit has the head of a crocodile, whereas she has the head of a hippopotamus. And they also have like similar body structures with like all that stuff. And then you did mention that she was the goddess of fertility, but she's also the goddess of like protection. She was like a protective god, if I'm not mistaken anyway. So I think that we're seeing a mishmash of everything that you just described there, like all those options, because I think that Taweret is trying to heal Mark in more than one way. She's probably healing the bullet holes, but also we're going into Mark's mind. Everything we're seeing, in my opinion, is cerebral. And that, Taweret is like sort of in his head and being like, hey, this is sort of your hospital. You made this. You have to remember that Stephen Grant was looking through that pamphlet earlier in episode 2 rather, when he got fired. And like that pamphlet had all that really neat imagery of a hospital, like a sort of similar environment that he's currently now in. So like, I think that he took that information and he made that hospital from his mind and sort of like mishmashed his own favorite hobbies, his Egyptian love. So like, that's why the walls are sort of Egyptian-y and all that stuff. And so I think that for some reason, Tawaret's Ushabti was carved to look like Ammit, and that someone is playing games. Someone set Harrow up. Someone like is trying to fake Ammit's death or something. And I think that Taweret is just like, hey, thanks for picking me up. I'm gonna heal you now. And like in the next episode is probably gonna be like you said with WandaVision. I like it how you made that WandaVision allusion, because we had that episode where it was sort of like a clip episode of like the past. And so we're probably gonna work through Mark's like his illness and like sort of visually see how that manifests through this hospital analogy. But that's this wild theory that it could be anything. I don't know.
You're saying Taweret. I've been saying Taweret. Thank you for just giving the other alternate in case
I have no clue.
I just between MT and I, one of us is right, one of us is wrong, or maybe we're both wrong. But these are also like ancient Egyptian.
Yes.
things.
Well, it was mentioned in episode 1. Steve does say it in a very weird way when he picks up the hippos for I forget her name right now for his mean boss Donna. Yeah. Terrible Donna. You're so mean to him. So he says he's like, it's a Taweret. He says Taweret or something like that. I don't know how he says it.
Yeah.
But she is mentioned in episode 1.
Okay. So there you go. I think you bring up some very interesting points here, especially with that pamphlet, MT. Here's what I'm gonna say. I think there is an underworld in the MCU, and yes. I think
hell is real.
I think hell is real, but it's probably not going to be called hell. And I think if you have some kind of linkage with a particular deity figure, when you die, you go to this other realm. I think for Wakandans, specifically T'Challa, that realm manifested as the ancestral plane.
Right.
I think for Asgardians, when they die, they go to some other similar realm, obviously Valhalla or something like that.
Right.
When Thanos snapped in that moment, he went inside the Soul Stone and entered this other ethereal plane. I think if you have kind of reached this god status, you go to this other ethereal plane, and that plane takes a different form drawn subjectively from the enterer of that plane. In this case, because Stephen and Mark have had this connection with Khonshu, I think when they die or when they're close to dying, that brings them to this Egyptian underworld. And for Mark and for Stephen, that takes the form of a mental hospital. I don't think either of them are doing that intentionally. I just think that is subconsciously what the walls look like. In the same way that when T'Challa enters the ancestral plane, I don't think he is deciding to make it look like a savanna with a tree with panthers in it.
Because Killmonger's was different.
that's part of his soul. That's
Right.
part of like his ancestral lineage. And I think for Steven, as someone with dissociative identity disorder, his soul manifests it in this form.
Right.
And when Thanos, as someone who's just like empty, you know, he's wiped everything away. For him, the Soul Stone looks like this, just that one gateway of his daughter, with his young daughter, Gamora. So I think that's what this is. I think when you have this godly connection and you're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you're dying or close to dying or close to dead or in this gradual process of dying, you enter this this ethereal realm, and it goes by many names. Maybe one of those names might be the quantum realm. I mean, we'll see. And then this is just what it looks like for each person. There's a lot of theological and spiritual discussions that what is hell? You know, what will hell look like, or what will the afterlife look like? And there's all these discussions and beliefs that maybe hell just looks like something different for each person. The French existentialist Sartre had this great line from No Exit, a play that he wrote. Famously, hell is other people. And your hell might be where you live right now, but that seemed so applicable for what Mark was going through in this mental hospital, that his hell was the other people of his life, and him realizing he did not know them like he thought he did.
I read a really interesting quote that said hell was actually minute 42 of Morbius. Sorry.
Was that quote written down in your own notebook, MT?
I was writing it during while I was watching Morbius. Woo, sorry. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Morbius. It's fine.
I think we've done a pretty good job giving our best analysis of what we're seeing in these final minutes. Obviously, there's plenty of ways to interpret this.
Right.
I'm not going to say any one way is right or wrong. We'll find out in future episodes, but at least this is the way that gives me the most meaning for what Steven and Mark have been going through these past 4 episodes, and where they will go next. So we have several other questions we're going to talk about in this episode, but first we want to thank some people who helped us make this episode. Thank you to Brooklinen for sponsoring this episode. We all need sleep, and we all deserve comfortable bedding. Enter Brooklinen, one of the internet's favorite sheets. Brooklinen was created in 2014 to give customers luxury, hotel-level home essentials that don't break the bank. They offer everything from snuggly sheets to cozy towels and robes, loungewear accessories, and much more. By working directly with the suppliers, Brooklinen passes savings back to their customers, so you can get their incredible products at a reasonable cost. First time trying Brooklinen? Don't worry, their best-selling Luxe sheets are the perfect place to start, featuring an irresistibly soft feel and buttery smooth finish. Brooklinen launches new products, colors, and patterns all the time for their sheets, towels, and robes, with some limited edition collections selling out quick. You can also take Brooklinen's signature softness outside the home with their loungewear collection, featuring their softest tees, tanks, sweatshirts, joggers, and other essential basics. And if you need the extra nudge, check out the 5-star reviews, over 100,000 of them. And for a limited time, Brooklinen is offering a free gift with purchase. If you miss out, you can use the promo code InsideMarvel anytime for $20 off your purchase of $100 or more at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com, and enter the promo code InsideMarvel for $20 off your first purchase today. Brooklinen, the curators of comfort. We also want to thank Helix Sleep for sponsoring this episode. Even if you have magical armor that appears out of nowhere to help you fight crime, you still need a good night's sleep on a mattress made just for you. Our friends at Helix Mattress are here to make sure you have that. Helix Sleep is a quiz that matches your body type and your sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. They have soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattress is great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Even a Helix Plus mattress for plus size sleepers. I have a Helix mattress and I love it. MT's mattress, you love your mattress.
Yes, so much. Like I honestly, genuinely do, guys. It's literally, I've never had better sleep in my life, or at least as an adult. Like, it's so good. Please look into it.
The mattress ships right to your door for free. No need to go to a mattress store. Just go to helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you're going to love it. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. And we want to thank Storyworth for sponsoring this episode. Ever flip through your mom's high school yearbook or your grandma's old photo album and realize that they're just huge portions of their life that you don't know anything about? That's what happened to our researcher Anna recently, and that's why she got her mom Storyworth. Storyworth is an online service that helps you and your loved ones connect through sharing stories and memories and preserves them for years to come. Every week, Storyworth emails your mom a thought-provoking question of your choice from a vast pool of possible options. Each unique prompt asks questions you've never thought of, like, what's some of the best advice your mother gave you? Or if you were to do it all over, what would you do differently? It's just a really cool process for your mom or your grandmother to reflect back on their lives and share their stories, and it's just cool for you and your family to learn more about them. After 1 year, Storyworth compiles all of those questions and stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book the whole family can share for generations. Give all the moms in your life a meaningful gift you'll both cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, for a limited time, you'll save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/Marvel. That's STORYWORTH.com/Marvel to save $10 on your first purchase, storyworth.com/Marvel. All right, MT, I want to ask you, could anyone else other than Jake be in that other sarcophagus?
I think it was Jake from State Farm. Just kidding, no. Maybe, I think that it's just highly likely Jake, because we haven't seen Jake yet, and Jake is a huge part of the, one of a huge alter in Mark Spector's life. So it's got to be Jake. It's a huge implication that it's Jake.
I think you're right. I think it's most like almost 90% Jake, but I'm just gonna think of the outs right now. I wonder if this show might really go take a huge leap of faith and suggest that maybe Layla could be one of Mark's alters. I think that's a wild theory, but it would be just nuts to have someone who is not Jake, not another Oscar Isaac, pop out of that sarcophagus.
That would be
I wonder if that could be where Amit is kept right now. Like Amit is buried somewhere down there, or Khonshu is going to break out of there.
That is a really interesting idea. And obviously, this is just a fictional take on what DID is. We're not saying that this is DID makes you the avatar of Amit. This is just obviously a fictional take on that, just so people know. Because I know some people be like, "Oh no, they don't understand what DID is." We're talking fictional.
Right. Yes, I understand that. I'm just saying the show has obviously stretched exactly what DID is.
Exactly.
Mark is now a delusional person. People suffering from DID are not necessarily delusional, but the show is obviously saying that this character is delusional and is suffering from certain kind of delusions, at least in this episode. I think it'd be interesting, pretty wild if Doctor Strange popped out of that sarcophagus. I mean, if he's just hey, I'm not one of your alters, but I am in here right now, and I just gotta say,
I'm trying to save you.
There's all kinds of fun cameos that could pop out of that sarcophagus. So I'm just keeping my options open for now. Okay, big detail, major detail. Layla, on that bandage, on her finger, a red scarab. There's been a lot of speculation that her name, Abdallah El Faouli, could be Abdul the Scarlet Scarab from the early Invaders comics with Union Jack and Cap and Bucky, a protector of Egypt who's presented as a villain in that series, but in our historical looking back, was just protecting his homelands and had every right to protect his homelands from a group called the Invaders.
Exactly.
So could Layla become the MCU's Scarlet Scarab? Is that what this is?
I would really hope so. I think it'd be really cool to see Layla, just become a really kick-ass character in the MCU. Though I have this weird feeling that Layla might be connected to the goddess Nephthys. And this is just my weird theory, because I have a feeling that Khonshu misses someone. And, we know that the moon, he's the god of the moon, and the moon is always around at night. And Nephthys is the goddess of night. And so I have this weird feeling that Layla might be linked to her. But, we do have that Scarlet Scarab. And that is too much of a coincidence. And given what people have
suspected. It's not even red. That is straight up Scarlet.
That is straight up Scarlet. That is a Scarlet Scarab. So I would hope that this isn't just Marvel just playing with us like they played with us with those little Mephisto teases in No Way Home. I hope that it's not a misdirect and it's actually we're going to see Layla to kick some ass.
Okay, another question I had: Alexander the Great. Now, this may be just part of this fictitious reality, right? But if they establish that this is real, that much is real, could Alexander the Great, or is the show saying that Alexander the Great was so great because he had Amit's help? What do you think, MT?
I think that's the implication. I think that, he's this huge historical figure and he was great. He was one of the greatest conquerors of all time. And so he did all of that before he was 30. So like
that's what made him such a prodigy, is that he accomplished so much when he was so young.
At a young age. So I think that the MCU is implying that like, yeah, it's kind of, it's highly unlikely for someone to do that without some type of help. So I think that, Amit was his, or whoever, he had a godly assistance.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think that's the idea. I would love to see just a breakdown of everything Alexander the Great accomplished at his young age. And just say like, Amit helped out with this, Amit helped out with that.
Great news for you. Because me and Brandon, we thinking about talking about that very soon, my friend.
Oh, in an upcoming big question, maybe?
Yes.
I can't wait to see it.
Tune in,
all right,
friends.
as we look ahead to next episode, MT, Mark and Steven, and perhaps Jake, are in this mental hospital. I assume they're going to be fighting their way out of it.
Yes.
How do they get out? And can they escape this hospital?
Very simple solution. I hear all you have to say is blue skidoo, we can too, and they're out instantaneously. I wish, but no. I think that it just judging by like the themes that I'm seeing in the show, especially with the goldfish, I think that there's a theme of like repairing yourself and like trying to accept yourself and become whole. And like at the beginning, we see that this goldfish has one fin. And like at the beginning, we know that Mark Spector and Steve have a fragmented relationship. And then like we see the goldfish mysteriously get another fin back. And like, obviously it's because it's a new goldfish. But like, I think it's symbolically to represent like Mark accepting the different parts of himself, like Steve and possibly Jake Lockley. And so like once he accepts that, and like Tawaret, the goddess of healing, allows him to heal himself mentally and symbolically that way, then he'll probably just be like, all right, now I'm fully myself, and it's time to do real moon knighting as my full accepted self. Depending if Jake Lockley is able to be accepted right away, because that dude seems kind of too ready to roll, too ready to kill. But what do you think?
I think it's going to be like, if you consider the conflict of this season has been Mark versus Steven, right? That's Mark with his other alters. Right. Like, I wonder if like there could be a total of 6 alters. You know, there was like
six is the big number in the MCU.
It's a big number, right? 6 lines for the Eye of Horus, 6 priests that were buried in the Pharaoh's tomb with him, 6 members of the OG Avengers, 6 Infinity Stones, 6 sides to a hexagon in the hex. So I think what we're going to see are the 3 forms of the altars. You have Mark, you have Steven, and you have Jake. And then whatever their powered up version is. You have the Moon Knight ceremonial armor, you have the Mr. Knight armor, and then you have whatever Jake armors up into, in that these 6 will all have to work together the way the Avengers work together, and the way the Infinity Stones have to be aligned to fight their way out. And they're each going to have different skill sets, different powers that all complement each other and work together in specific ways. And that's going to be the way the conflict is resolved in this series, is that Mark is still going to have dissociative identity disorder, but he's going to reach a certain balance with it where they can agree who takes the wheel at any given moment.
Right.
So that way he can kind of use his different alters to his advantage. Now, will that be problematic in some ways? Maybe. That might be problematic. But this is just Steven's story. This is Mark's story at the end of the day. I don't think they're saying this is meant to be a poster representation of everyone who has DID. Because obviously everyone who has DID is not also possessed by an Egyptian deity.
Yeah, obviously. It's very rare for that to happen. But no, I really like how you brought that up, because it reminds me of that Teen Titans episode with Raven. And like she had to like embrace the different parts of her personality, and she was like wearing different colors to represent the different parts of her personality. I just think it's really fun and cool that they're doing that. I hope that happens like in that example.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying they have to do it this way or this is the only cool way to do it. I just that seems to be one way the show could go. And I think like meanwhile, not in this underworld, I think it's going to require Layla to find Khonshu's Ushabti and smash it, or whatever it is. I don't know if it's just a matter of smashing or saying some other kind of incantation, reading some passage from the Book of the Dead, translating the Scarab, and reading some other passage on it. There's all kinds of like things that she can say or do to free the spirit. Or maybe she just really threatens the 5 Ennead members. She's like, I'm going to expose your internet search histories.
I got your text messages. Don't mess with me.
I'll read every receipt. Every mercy. Well, the breakdown is coming, folks. It's coming later today, so keep an eye out for that. But that's where we'll leave things this episode of Inside Marvel. I cannot wait to see what comes next. Don't forget to check out our great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow MT at Mastertainment. Subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching. Latest Gators.
Latest Gators. Love you guys.